Hello and welcome to another pen video from me, Penultimate Dave. So I have here another 10 pens currently inked up this week. I think let's go through these briefly one by one. We'll go through them in a little bit more detail and then we'll do a writing sample. So from left to right we have a London Pen Company, and this is the Christopher 15, and this is in the Jonathan Brooks Primary Manipulation 1 material. We have an Edison Pen Company Collier in antique marble. We have a Sailor King of Pen Sakura Nagare. We have a Taccia Miyabi's Winter's Breath. We have a Classic Pens LB5 in the Kaen. We have a Visconti Medici, and this is in the Il Magnifico. We have another Visconti Medici, and this is in the Lapis Lazuli. We have a Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest. We have a Visconti Leonardo Davinci Machina, and we have a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. So I think let's take a look at these pens in a little bit more detail. So we have the Stunning pen. I had this inked up last week. I've had it inked up for a number of weeks now. This is the London Pen Company. It's a Christopher 15, and this is in the Jonathan Brooks Primary Manipulation 1. It's a beautiful resin that Jonathan Brooks makes himself. He sells then the rods to other pen manufacturers or custom pen makers. And we've seen these in Leonardo pens. We've seen them in a lot of other custom pen makers' pens. This is made by Sean at the London Pen Company in Ontario, Canada. It's a really lovely pen. This is one of Sean's more girthier pens in the Christopher 15. You can see there in the size of my hand. It is quite a girthy pen, but it's a pen that I like the size of. It has a concave section going on here. It has a number 6 size, and this is a Bock nib, and I got this in a broad nib. But it's a cartridge converter pen, but I like it. I like the size, and I like the weight of this pen. It holds 0.7 milliliters of ink, being a cartridge converter. I think longer term, I'd like to try and see some number 8 size nibs on here, but I know Bock don't do number 8 size steel nibs, and they do the gold nibs, which are expensive, and they do the titanium nibs, which are certainly a lot more expensive than a steel nib, but not quite as expensive as a gold nib. So whether or not we will see any number 8s on here anytime soon, I don't know, but I'd like to actually see a number 8 on here. I think it would make the pen look a little bit nicer, but I love this pen as it is, and I love the number 6 size nib on there. But having an oversized nib on that might just make it sort of stand out a little bit better. The next pen I have inked up is the Edison Pen Company, and this is a Collier in antique marble, and I love the material on here. I had this inked up last week, so I still have it inked up this week. Clearly I didn't write with it enough, and I need to, actually I did actually, I had to refill it. So, but I decided that I would add it again this week in the currently inked. So there are some pens that I do still have inked up that don't make the cut, and I was tempted to maybe not have this one in here again, but it's a beautiful pen and I love it. It's a number 6 size, and it's a Yovo broad nib from Edison there, cartridge converter. You can't post the cap on this, and I think that's probably the reason why I've got 3 of these, and I really don't write with them. It's kind of strange really, because I never post my caps anyway, but I don't know, it's just something that just tells me that, I don't know, it's just I don't write with them enough. So I think also because I have a 1.5mm stub nibs in them, I swapped this out last week for a broad nib, and I'm now writing with it. So I'm liking that one being inked up. And honestly, I might actually just, I've got some other broad Yovo nibs. I may just put them in the other 2 Colliers I have and start writing with them a bit more as well. The next pen I have inked up is the beautiful Machina pen. This is a Sailor King pen. It's a Sakura Nagare, and it's a beautiful Machia Raden pen. And the Sakura petals here are basically, it's supposed to denote a Sakura petals flowing down the river. And this is a beautiful pen made by Sailor. So it says here, if I get it right, there you go, Sailor, Japan, and it's founded 1911, and you can see that there. This has a number 8 size Sailor King pen nib on it. It's a cartridge converter. It's a 21 karat gold nib. I got this in a broad nib, and I'm really liking that a lot. I was tempted to get it in a medium nib, but the reason why I didn't is I already had a medium in my Sailor King pen, Classic Pens LB5 Kaoseki, and I wasn't liking that as much, so I decided I'd get a broad nib in this one, and I love that broad nib. Although more lately I'm liking the medium nibs again, but I have this one inked up with me this week as well. The next one, which has also a Sailor nib on it, but it's a smaller nib, is this one, and it is the Tatcha Miyabi's Winter's Breath. I had this inked up last week as well. It's again another beautiful Machia fountain pen. You've got these Raden strips here, and you also have all of this white is cracked quail's eggs, and it's all machiaed onto this pen. Beautiful work of art. I absolutely love it, and I really do like it. So for me, this is a beautiful pen. It has a number 6 size Sailor nib there for Tatcha. It's a cartridge converter pen, and I just like it. I like the size of it. If you want to, you can post the cap, but I'm not a cap poster, and I really wouldn't want to mar this finish. So for me, I don't post the cap, but this is a beautiful pen, and I'm so glad that I was able to add it to my collection when I did. And a more recent addition was this one, and this is the Sailor. It's a King pen. It's made by Sailor. It's actually a you'll see here if I show you, it says Sailor here, but it's an LB5. It's a Classic Pens LB5 made by Sailor. It's in the Kaen color, and it's number 38 of 50. But this is a beautiful material. It's diffusion bonded acrylic, and if you don't know what diffusion bonded acrylic is, it's basically layers or sheets of acrylic that is compressed together under immense force, and it's basically fusion bonded together, and then it's cut into rods. So I love this effect that's going on there. I think it brings a really lovely effect to the pen material. Now, because this is made by Sailor, it is a number 8 size 21 karat gold Sailor King of Pen nib that you can see there. It's a medium nib on this one. It's a cartridge converter pen, and I love this. I love the pen. I love the finish, and I'm glad that I was able to pick this up from a friend when I did, because he was sending off a bunch of pens, and he offered to me this pen first before looking to sell it to anybody else. So I'm really glad that he did that. The next pen is this pen that is inked up this week, and it's a Visconti, a Medici, Il Magnifico, and these are made of solid silver and solid marble. This is a beautiful red one. I like the white veins going through this a lot. It really is nice. It has a number 6 size Visconti. This is the older 23 karat palladium nib. It's got a hook safe lock. It's a power vac filler. It's a single reservoir, not a double reservoir, but I really love this a lot. It's a beautiful pen. It's a medium nib, but I like how that one writes. So I have that one inked up with me this week as well. The next one is again another Visconti, and it's again another Medici Il Magnifico, but this is in the Lapis Lazuli. So again, it's made of solid silver, but with a vermeil gold-plated coating. Solid marble as well, or lapis lazuli stone. And likewise the section as well. This has the newer 18 karat gold nibs from Visconti. So again, a medium nib. You've got the hook safe lock. You've got a power vac filler. Again, a single reservoir, not a double reservoir. I used to hate on the single reservoirs. And the reason why I used to, maybe not hate's too strong a word. I disliked the single reservoirs because they didn't hold enough ink. But honestly, most of these do actually hold enough ink. I actually find a double reservoir holds way too much ink, and I'll have it inked up for normally several months. So I have that one inked up with me this week as well, so I'm loving that one. The next pen is another pen. It's again a Visconti. It's the Chatterley Luxuries exclusive. It's the Southwest in rose gold trim. It's a beautiful pen. It's with the Speakeasy and St. Basil celluloid. It's this lovely blue and red sort of hues. It's faceted as well into like an octagonal. It really is a stunning pen. Again, you have a number 6 size Visconti nib there. This is the newer 18 karat gold nib. It's a medium nib. You also actually have this, if I can show you here, the Southwest and a city there. Because this is city to Southwest. It's number 20 of, if we can get that right there, 20 of 28. So there's only 28 pens made of this. But this is a stunning, stunning celluloid material. So again, this is a material that I'm really loving a lot. The next pen I have inked up, which I've not had inked up for a little while now, and I realised I had to ink it back up because I miss writing with this. And strangely enough, I remember saying to a friend, Tony, in Kansas City, that I was getting this pen. He said, I don't like the look of this. I think that the engravings look cheap with that like orangey brown sort of fill in there on the scrimshaw, and he disliked it. Well, a year on, just over about a year and a half on, he's now picked up one and he loves it. And he is so glad. He got his with the silver trim. I've got mine with the gold trim. But this is a Leonardo da Vinci Machina, and this I find that this clip is really not that. It's functional, but it just looks a little bit strange to me. I'd much rather a standard Visconti clip on here, but you can't have everything. You've got here Leonardo da Vinci here, his signature, and then you have all this lovely scrimshaw that's going on here on the pen. So you can just see here the amount of detail in this scrimshaw work. It really is beautiful. So they engrave the pen with all of this work, and then they fill in the, I want to say holes, but it's not really. They fill in the engraving channels with sort of powdered sort of pigments, and this is a really beautiful pen. I love it a lot. It's not a cheap pen. It's got one of the newer style Visconti 18 karat gold nibs, and it's a medium nib. Writes more like a fine, but it writes beautifully. So I'm so glad of that. So I have that one inked up. It's got a hook safe lock mechanism on it. It's a power vac. It's a single reservoir again. And you'll see there I've got, hopefully you might be able to see that on camera. It's only 288 limited edition, and I've got number 112. So for me, that is a nice addition to my collection. Now, another pen here is this one, and again, it's a pen I've not used a lot lately. It's a Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog, and I know what you're going to say. Aha! This isn't inked. No, it's not inked, and I'm just about to ink it up. So you'll see it inked up in a little bit. But this is a beautiful pen. It was one of my initial Grail pens that I wanted when I started out in this hobby, and I decided I would try it and see, and I was pretty sure I was going to return it. And I'm so glad I didn't, because I loved it, and then it started me on this wild bandwagon of Visconti, where I have around 70 Viscontis. So this came with a fine nib. It's the older 23 cat palladium nibs. Strangely enough, I wanted a medium nib on it, and the retailer didn't have a medium nib, but they said they could swap it out from another pen. And I said, well, you know what, let me try a fine nib. I tried it and I loved it. But then I went and bought the other pen that had the medium nib on it, which was the Florentine Hills. And I loved that as well. But this one I love more, partly because of the pattern, but also because of the nib and how it writes. So this is a hook safe lock mechanism. It's a power vac filler. It's a double reservoir. So it holds a whopping 2.5 milliliters of ink. But this is a really, really stunning pen. So I wanted to show you that uninked, because once you have ink in the body here, it sort of takes away this pattern, so you don't see the pattern in all its glory. So I just wanted to show you that there. So I'll go and ink that up in a moment, but that's my currently 10 inked pens inked this week, and I think let's go and do a writing sample. So the first pen I have inked up this week is the London Pen Company. This is a Christopher 15, and this is in the Jonathan Brooks Primary Manipulation 1. So I think let's do an ink swatch. Now I've had this inked up for a number of weeks. I actually may even want to say that I've had it inked up for about a month now, because I'm loving how it writes, but I'm also loving the ink color combination as well. And I'm really loving that I've got a green ink in the pen, because I'm really wanting to write with some green inks. So this is the London Pen Company, and it's the Christopher 15 in Primary Manipulation 1. It's a broad and it's a Bock steel nib. And then the ink in here is Diamine, and it's Meadow, which is a beautiful green ink. Another ink that I like a lot is Diamine Apple Glory. The next pen I have inked up is the Edison Pen Company Collier in Antique Marble. We'll do an ink swatch. And I think this colour matches the pen quite nicely, although pen colour versus ink colour, you can see there. So this is the Edison Pen Company, and it's the Collier, and it's in Antique Marble. And it's a broad, and it's a Yovo steel nib. And then the ink in here is Noodler's Habanero, which is a really lovely sort of reddy orange sort of shading ink. The next pen is the Sailor King of Pen Sakura Nagare. So we'll do an ink swatch. And you can see this is quite a nice wet nib. It's a broad nib. So this is the Sailor, and it's the King of Pen Sakura Nagare. And it's a broad, and it's a 21 cat gold nib, because it's a Sailor King of Pen nib. And then the ink in here is KWZ, and it's grapefruit, which is a beautiful grapefruity coloured ink there. The next pen is the Taccia Miyabi's Winter's Breath. So we'll do an ink swatch. And although this is a broad nib, it's not as broad, I would say. But maybe the writing sample will prove me wrong. So this is the Taccia Miyabi's Winter's Breath. And it is a broad, and it's an 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, Topaz. The next pen is the Classic Pens LB5 in the Kaen. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this isn't as broad a nib, it's a medium nib. And you can just see that there, it's a little bit, when I say it's a medium, it's more like a Western fine. So this is the Classic Pens, and it's LB5 in the Kaen. It's a medium 21 cat gold because it's a Sailor King of pen nib. And then the ink in here is Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. The next pen inked up is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, I know this isn't a red ink, but I tried some red inks in this pen and I just didn't get on with them. And I tried this pink ink and I really like this. So this is the Visconti, and it's the Medici Il Magnifico. And it's just a standard Il Magnifico. It's got a medium, and it's got a 23 cat palladium nib. And then the ink in here is Pelican, Edelstein, and it's Star Ruby, which I think I have. It's either 2 or 3. I think it's 3 bottles of, which I love. I hosted the Pelican Hub on the year of, it must have been, was it 2019? I think it must have been 2019. Was it 2018? No, 2019. And I love that ink. So yeah, it's an ink that I like a lot. The next pen is a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Lapis Lazuli. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this nib sings, but I like it. It's not a nib that really puts me off, and normally singing nibs put me off. So this is the Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Lapis Lazuli, and it's a medium, and it's the newer 18 cat gold nibs from Visconti. And then the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku Ajise, which for me is a really, really lovely sort of lilac-y blue ink. The next pen is the Visconti Chatterley Luxuries exclusive. This is the Southwest. So we'll do an ink swatch. And this is a very wet nib. So this is the Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest. It's got a medium. It's got the newer 18 cat gold nib. And the ink in here is Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. Now, I want to actually show you here the two colour inks. So these are actually quite different depending on the nib that you put them in. So typically I normally find Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red a little bit more on the darker side. The next pen is the Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina. So we'll do an ink swatch. And you can see here it's quite a wet nib. So this is the Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina. And it is a medium. It's the newer 18 cat gold nib. And then the ink in here is Akamon SBRE Brown. And then the last pen is the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog. And you can see there that it doesn't, the pattern doesn't look as nice when it's inked up. So we'll do an ink swatch. Now, this is a fine nib, which honestly, I want to say writes a little bit more like an extra fine to me. But I think it's because I'm used to more wider nibs. So this is a Visconti, and it's the Homo Sapiens London Fog. It's a fine, and it's a 23 carat palladium nib. And the ink in here is Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki, which is an ink that I love inking up in this pen. So I think let's go and take a look at these pens inked up one more time. So we have a London Pen Company Christopher 15 in primary manipulation in a broad steel nib inked up with Diamine Meadow. We have an Edison Pen Company Collier in antique marble in a broad steel nib inked up with Noodler's Habanero. We have a Sailor King pen Sakura Nagare in a broad 21 karat gold nib inked up with KWZ Grapefruit. We have a Tatcha Miyabi Winter's Breath in a broad 18 karat gold nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Topaz. We have a Classic Pens LB5 in the Kaen in a medium 21 karat gold nib inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. We have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in a medium 23 karat palladium nib inked up with Pelican Edelstein Star Ruby. We have a Visconti Medici Il Magnifico in the Lapis Lazuli in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Aji Sei. We have a Visconti Chatterley Luxuries Southwest in a medium 18 karat gold nib inked up with Mont Blanc Corn Poppy Red. And if you look at these two here, you can see the difference. The LB5, Classic Pens LB5 in the Kaen is much more of a brighter red, whereas this, because it's a more wetter nib and broader nib, it comes out as a much more darker, almost crimsony, maroony colour ink. The next pen we have inked up is the Visconti Leonardo da Vinci Machina in a medium 18 karat gold nib, inked up with Akerman SBRE Brown. And then the last pen we have inked up is the Visconti Homo Sapiens London Fog in a 23 karat palladium nib, inked up with Pilot Iroshizuku Konpeki. So there you have it. That's my current ink pens for this week. Thanks for watching. Please like, comment, subscribe, and I'll see you on the next pen video. Bye bye.